It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, answer, yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome on in to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan. Also streaming on 1069thefan.com and on the 1069 The Fan mobile app. They're all free. You don't have to subscribe to anything to listen to us, and we're about worth the price you have to pay for the content that we give you.
Worth the price you pay?
Yes.
Which is $0.
Which is nothing.
Cents.
But
hard-hitting analysis, everyone.
I know, but we're happy to have you along nonetheless and be a part of the show. Love to have the texts coming through, your observations, questions, complaints, other 435-339-0321 to chime in and be part of the show. We had some interesting questions or discussions about blown calls and temper tantrums last hour. And, Jason, you found something that was interesting about the 2-minute report in the NBA.
Oh, no, I don't know if I can find it again. Well, I remember the basic idea because basically somebody compiled all of the last 2-minute reports. And so those basically, they go through like what were the incorrect calls or incorrect no calls that were made. And I'm desperately trying to – there it is. Okay, we're good. Because we're talking about, Lakers fans are getting upset about, apparently the referees are, blowing games for them.
Yeah, Darvin Ham and LeBron James have both complained to the media here recently. It seems like it's happening more often than not that we're not getting the calls.
Yeah.
And the data doesn't back that up.
Yeah, because this data, so basically it takes, all right, how many incorrect calls or no calls have been made total in, your last 2-minute report things. So there's been in Lakers, they've had 19 games that qualify for the last 2-minute report. Because basically it's if a game is within 5 at any point in the last 2 minutes, they develop one of these reports where they go through and they examine every call in the last 2 minutes of a game. Again, every call that's made, they'll examine, but they'll also examine, okay, if maybe there's a travel that wasn't called, they'll count that on there.
And before you continue, we were talking last hour about what kind of level of accountability or should there be any public accountability or not for referees. And this is the NBA's attempt to address that, which, there's mixed feelings about the 2-minute report, if it has value or not. Because if you lost a close game and you see that, it's infuriating, right, to see, if these calls had gone the right way, it could have changed the outcome. But ultimately, when you stand back at it, I have to applaud the 2-minute report. It's at least them admitting, look, there's some things that we missed, but we're reviewing it, and that's something that there hasn't been that transparency before.
Yeah, there's a benefit to transparency here. My question is, and this is as far as referee accountability, because I'm a huge proponent of referee accountability in terms of if you do poor, you don't do as many games, or maybe you take a pay cut. If I'm horrible at my job, if I come in here and I swear into the mic 17 times, you fire me because that's me being bad at my job.
Yes.
You don't say, oh, it's fine. Look, I know he had like 37 FCC violations, but it's fine. He'll keep doing fine. The union wants him to be around. We don't even have a union, but that's what the perception is with referees in sports leagues is they make mistakes but don't receive any accountability. So this is a transparency, but are referees put to account for these bad calls, or these consistent bad calls? There's a certain level of acceptable mistakes, but then there's too many mistakes. So right. Yeah, so back to the data here. So the Lakers in 19 last 2-minute reports that have been made, it's been determined there have been 34 incorrect calls made. And the Lakers, and so mind you, an incorrect call benefits one team or the other.
Correct.
the Lakers have benefited from 21 of those 34 calls, which is just a hair under 62%, which is the second best mark for any team, meaning the Lakers get a higher percentage of favorable calls in these situations, a more favorable percentage of bad calls in their favor in the last 2 minutes.
That's rich.
The one team above them is the Clippers. So LA bias, and Golden State is third at 60%. So it's like apparently California teams just get all the bias.
They get all the benefit. They have the stars.
Yeah.
They have the big names.
So yeah, the Lakers fans, going all about how the refs are, giving away their games.
Out to get them.
I don't know about that because it's
the data seems to indicate otherwise.
And I asked Derek after the break. I just said out loud, and I said, "Guess who's second to last?" And you hit it right on the head. You didn't need a second guess. It's the Utah Jazz. They have the second worst rate of favorable calls at only 38.1%.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. Of course, they actually, if you look at the number of, they've had 4 more games that generate last 2-minute reports, but they've had fewer incorrect calls in their games. So the referees are doing a better job in the Jazz games. They just get fewer calls in their favor. So apparently, when the Lakers are in a close game, there are a ton of bad calls in their games, but they go in favor of the Lakers. Iffy.
Way more often than not.
What if there's correlation between that?
9952 texting in, when I referee games and players complain about a missed call, I simply remind them of their missed pass or shot and say we're even.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a whole theory around dialogue between players and refs about if a player is whining and crying, then out of the old stone face, and you might make a sarcastic remark because at that point they kind of deserve it because they're acting immature, or sometimes you just ignore it because sometimes that's just the best option. And that's probably what's happening in 9952's case. If they're just whining, complaining, it's just like, yeah, you're not getting anything out of me for that. If you walk up to me with a camera and say you were wrong, you're getting a technical. Like I said, that's literally, like, I remember reading that when I was training to be a referee. It was in the handbook. Like they were talking about like an example where an assistant coach walks up to you with a tablet, because at that point they were just starting to have I think they've implemented that rule fairly recently, because at that point they were getting technologically to that point where they were having live, coach could have a live replay on his tablet instead of having to go back after the game and look at it. And it was like, yeah, if the coach comes up to you and tries to show you the play, nope, bam, tee him up, sit him down.
Hey, but if a player obviously gets a little animated, but they're talking to the referee about what happened and why, then I think it's positive. I think it's positive when we see referees like explaining themselves, explaining why they called what they called. I at least appreciate that over, I'm not going to talk to you no matter what. Because that just fuels animosity and just makes it more difficult.
Yeah, and there's situations where at some point as a referee you have to just cut off because you're dealing with people who are frustrated. When you referee and you make a call and a player's like, and they cuss or they act in frustration. First off, there's leeway you give to them because they are now a frustrated human being, and frustrated human beings kind of do dumb things.
Right, you get a little emotional. We all say and do dumb things when we get a little emotional.
And you let it go unless it gets completely over the top and out of control to the point where it's unreasonable. So you let them air their frustrations for a second because they're human, and you live with that. And then maybe if they calm down after a second and they get their head on, their head on straight, then they come talk to you. And that's when you can have a cordial conversation. Now, sometimes they're still frustrated and they talk to you, and you just have to be like, all right, I've explained why. You don't like it. I'm sorry. We're done. So there's this whole diplomatic thing with being a referee, and that's why the job is hard, because you're inherently dealing with people who hate you in that moment. It's like
angry at whatever you're doing.
It's like a customer service rep. You are getting calls from people who are already angry and frustrated, and you have to figure things out. And as a referee, you're dealing with people who are frustrated, and it's going to be a thankless job. That's why generally I applaud referees, and I like what they do, and I tend to defend them because they are, as my old maxim is, the referees are right far more often than fans think they are, and the number of missed calls is very small, and I wish fans would give them a bit more of a break for it because they are at times very good at their jobs.
It's split second. I mean, you have to make that decision. You have to make that call.
Yeah, there are times when I'm constantly amazed where I see a play and I think, oh, that wasn't a foul. And then I see the replay and I was like, oh my gosh, how on earth did they see that in real time? And it's like, dang, that's a good ref. Especially soccer refs. Like, they're halfway across the field. And it's like, how did you see he had his studs in that guy's calf? How did you see that? It's like I had to look in slow motion to see that, and the referees will catch these kind of things. So, there's some very good refereeing, but again, there's some things that are off with it, and we need to address those. We're getting better. I think refereeing is getting better, not getting worse.
6865 texting in. If LeBron's going to complain about that no call foul, he should have just dunked it. He's already up that high already.
Yeah, maybe he should have.
Maybe.
He's still fouled though. That's the thing. He was fouled. That's how it is.
Like, show me any time in the history of sports when a player has gone to talk to a referee and the referee has said, you know what? I think you're right. And I'm going to overturn what I already called. You know what? You get off the free throw line. We'll go on the other side and you shoot the free throws instead.
Yeah, there's a point of no return and it's pretty quick. Like,
we have the challenge now, which is good. Coaches get to do that, and I'm glad it's in the coaches' hands and not the players, because you see players in the NBA, I can't tell you how many times a game some foul happens or something out of bounds, and they're raising their hand, twirling their finger around. It's like, oh,
it's like, what are you, a rodeo cowboy?
Yeah, come on. Yeah. Stop that.
That used to be the old goaltending symbol, wasn't it? The twirling your finger, wasn't that goaltending? They used to have a symbol for that, I think.
Yeah. What?
I thought it was like that twirler and was for goaltending. Now that, of course, they just do the two, the same thing for an and one. Just it's a good bucket,
right?
Then they move on.
That's true.
But yeah, as far as replays, I'm torn on replays because there's a balance you have to fit. There's a balance between review everything because we want to have a perfectly called game, and then there's a please, I don't want this game to go for another 3 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Right. I mean, it is a balance. We have the technology to get it right, so let's get it right. But at the same time, it gets in the way of the flow of the game. It's disruptive. And so there has to be a balance struck. We also have to we don't want our referees to get lazy and not call a game like they should and just rely on the technology. But there has to be a balance about when to do it and how often to do it because it does disrupt and slow things down.
Yeah, we want to have a game that we want to get the right calls right, but be able to actually play the game. 5452 texting saying, imagine if every foul was replayed during the Jordan Pistons era. It's like, yeah, I don't think I'd want to watch that.
Wow.
I just checked the box score afterward. I would not want to watch those games.
No.
Because, oh my gosh, what are we here? Watch the referees just leaning over a table like that's what we're watching?
I know. What am I paying for? 5253 texting in says, we take kids from high school and college and pay them millions to play a game for a living and act surprised when they throw tantrums over not getting their way. We create the problem and then act shocked when it plays out. Stop making them celebrities for being good at playground games if you expect maturity on their part.
Yeah, that's why real maturity in sports is so rare to see, because most of the time it's not there. And sometimes you only get it from players who are like in their late 30s where, they realize, I've made $100 million playing a playground game, as 5253 aptly puts it. That's essentially what these are. And, the high and mighty attitude some of these guys can get, which, I guess we're part of that problem. We spend 2 hours a day talking about these people.
Yeah.
We highlighted a sophomore in high school telling her how great she is at basketball, which is true, but you can talk about there being a systemic problem with that and the problems it causes for these kids psychologically. But that's the world we live in.
Yeah, that's true. We value their performance, and we pay money to go watch it in person, watch it on television, or stream it on our devices. It's our entertainment, and we pay them richly to entertain us.
That's literally my job. I have a job because of this. That's what I do. So it's kind of awkward when I talk, because I don't disagree with 5253 here at all, really. But So
But, you know
it's
what?
awkward for me to agree with that, considering my position in this debate.
But to some degree, it kind of connects with the conversation that we had with Zach Van Leeuwen when he was in,
Yeah.
former Utah State wide receiver. He's now professionally trained as a counselor, therapist, and that mental health coaching also helps and should help deal with understanding the pressure of not getting too far ahead of yourself, right? Stay grounded. And if people are grounded in different ways, then they can not only get through those hard times, but also get through the good times, which sometimes can mess people up in a lot of wrong ways.
And I think of Ben Simmons, where I think, I'm someone who's been critical of him, but I'm pretty sure he went to a really dark place for a while, because he probably rooted a lot of himself in the fact that he was really good at basketball without even really trying, and then suddenly he, relative to where he is, he's still better than 99% of people in the world at basketball, but suddenly he was in a much bigger pond with a lot bigger fish. And you get these people who root and say, oh yeah, I'm good at basketball and I don't even have to try, and then all of a sudden, oh, I'm bad at basketball relative to where I'm at, and I don't know who I am anymore, because your identity gets shattered.
Right. When you tie your identity to your success or not in your field of play, that can be dangerous.
Yeah, you just look. There's a lot of athletes where they tie
Your
that
self-worth.
Yeah, they're tying their self-worth to the fact that they're good at these sports, and sometimes they're doing it and they're not really trying. They're not doing as much hard work, or I guess I shouldn't accuse them of not being doing hard work. Maybe they're not improving. But you can go down the list of athletes who just seem to fall apart mentally, because suddenly their whole self-image is destroyed for various reasons, and it takes them down some pretty iffy places mentally. That's why I've tended to soften up on some athletes. I've softened up. Normally I just criticize them, oh yeah, he's just spoiled kid and he's rotten and he's ruined by money. But then you realize, okay, the kid's human and he's dealt with human circumstances, and you end up feeling for him. Like, Kyrie Irving went through it. I know a lot of people made fun of him for all the crazy stuff he did, and I start being legitimately worried. Is he okay?
Yeah.
Honestly, I was okay, is this guy going to be okay? Man to man, are you going to be okay? I know you got a lot of money, but there's still a lot of problems this guy can deal with. And so you'd be like, is this dude okay? You make fun of Ben Simmons because his career is falling apart, and there's some certain inner sports rivalry where you feel some satisfaction in other people's failures on the court. Then you're seeing him off the court falling apart. It's dude, you okay? I know we're booing you on the court, but we do care about you off the court. You okay? And so you start to see that with some of these guys where you do worry about them. With Tom Brady, he's like the GOAT, but his life feels like he's falling apart behind the scenes, where he's throwing away his family so he can go play another year with the Bucs, and now he's just in a path of self-destruction off the field. So, yeah, we got really deep really quick here.
Yeah, 6865 texting in. How do you explain Derek Carr?
I can't say I'm as familiar with Derek Carr's situation.
In what context? Did he...
Talking about David Carr or Derek Carr?
Derek Carr.
David Carr's explanation was he got murdered 50 times in the season because he got sacked. I think he holds the record for most sacked quarterback in a season, and that ruined him. Derek Carr, there might be something there, but...
Him walking away from the Raiders? I'm not sure.
Wait, he's leaving the Raiders? Did I miss that?
Yeah, he just stopped. He left the compound, and it's you guys got to be done. I'm moving on. They haven't traded him.
When did that happen?
At the end of the season.
That must have been really unplugged if I missed that.
He had an injury, but then he's the way that they something about the way that they were treating him, or he felt disrespected, and he was basically I'm moving on.
Yeah, there's players who have quit the sport because
I'm not coming back here.
They just feel done. There's it's happened here at Utah State where players have just decided, I'm just not in a place mentally and I got to quit. And they leave the sport because it's not healthy for them. And kudos to them for recognizing that if they've been able to identify, and hopefully that is it, and they're not just throwing darts in the dark. But if you recognize something that's toxic in your life, maybe David Carr identified something toxic in his life, if it's specifically the Raiders, or if it, Andrew Luck walked away from football. He said, this isn't good for me, or at least there's things I prioritize higher, and he said, I'm done. And some of that can be physical. I know some players have stepped away from football for physical reasons, not always mental reasons. But if it's mental or physical and you identify that what you're doing is bad for you, don't do it anymore. If it's destroying your life, stop.
Yeah, that's true. Got more we want to get to here on the show. Love to get your thoughts. Continue to come through. 435-339-0321. We'll get into the stat that blew our minds, our player of the week. Look at what's going on with the Mountain West Conference. We've got a busy schedule of games tonight. So that's all coming up. I'll update you on the latest standings there. All on continue to get your texts. Excuse me, I can catch my breath.
Don't die. It's bad for your health.
Yeah, 435-339-0321.
Want to set yourself apart from the competition? The Leadership MBA at Utah State University will help you lead companies and drive change in your organization. You can attend in person in Logan on Thursday evenings or take an interactive online class. Complete your MBA in as little as a year. Apply before March 1st to be considered for summer semester. Contact the MBA office for a waiver of the $55 application fee. Learn more at utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com.
As a small business, achieving your financial goals and ambitions can be a steep and rocky mountain to climb. This is Brent Wallace of Cache Valley Bank. To conquer this mountain and achieve your goals, it takes planning, hard work, and discipline. At Cache Valley Bank, we have the resources, expertise, and flexibility to help you scale your way to success. Give us a call. Let's work together and climb the mountains that await. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
It's engagement season. Time to find the perfect ring. S.E. Needham Jewelers is known for beautifully cut diamonds at excellent prices. Guys, the sparkle is what matters most in the diamond you give your sweetheart. Our diamonds stand apart from those of other stores. Come view our diamonds under magnification. Select a diamond that fits your budget and then have it mounted in a ring that she'll love. Remember, you get S.E. Needham quality at internet pricing. Open Monday through Saturday 10 to 7, where Utah gets engaged. S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block at the sign of the clock.
Nothing compares to the warmth and feel that a wood stove provides. The two-time Best of Northern Utah winning team says there's never been a better time to replace your old inefficient wood stove and install a new energy-efficient EPA-certified Vermont casting wood product in your home. The U.S. government is offering federal tax credits of 26% on your wood stove install. For Vermont casting units, that includes stoves, venting, and labor. Call or email Advanced Fireplace and Stove for a free in-home estimate. Call 435-752-7272 or go to advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this is The Odd Couple.
Mic check.
With Chris Broussard and Rob Parker.
When you look at these NBA numbers, it's easier than ever to score in the NBA. Broussard could have a double-double with 15 points and 10 rebounds.
I do think I could go for 4 points in today's NBA.
I might even get a basket if Nancy Lieberman is guarding me, okay?
With Chris Broussard and Rob Parker.
Weeknights from 6 to 8 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan. Join the show by calling 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. Yes, we are here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, 1069thefan.com, and the 1069 The Fan mobile app. A couple different texts coming through.
I am okay.
Yeah, 5253. Jason, are you okay, man? I'm sorry I took you to that dark place. I was just trying to offer a different perspective. Chin up, you're doing great.
I hope I didn't sound really sad, because I was talking about a serious topic in mental health, and
you were more framing it of how other people.
Yeah,
going
it was
to dark
me
places.
being worried about other people, because obviously I'm doing perfectly fine. We did go to a pretty serious topic pretty quick, and I don't think 5253 intended that whatsoever.
No,
but I took that topic and absolutely ran with it, which is probably my exercise for the day, considering how far I took that conversation. Yeah, I'm doing good. And thanks for the compliment.
It's always good to check in.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice if you get to check on that you guys care for us. So.
Yes.
But I'm doing perfectly fine. Thank you.
1570 asking, giving more details, says Derek Carr was benched for poor play. Then the Raiders had a mutual, in quotations, decision for him to be away from the team for the final 2 weeks. Basically, I don't think McDaniels wanted Carr from the beginning and ran him out.
Yeah, I think I must have just gotten completely unplugged from the NFL the last couple of weeks, where I just wasn't paying attention to it as much. Part of that, I think, was because the Patriots had finally been knocked out of the playoff picture late in the season, and so I wasn't as plugged in there. And maybe there was might have also been Utah State basketball related, where I was paying more attention to them, or high school basketball,
or the Aggies concluding their season, getting ready for the bowl game.
Yeah, so I used to be a lot more plugged into the NFL. I used to be like right on top of it. Every week would have known this story backwards and forwards. But since I've had to turn more full-time in terms of local stuff, I still should have caught this because I'm on Twitter every day. And there was something that kind of rang true when somebody said Derek Carr. I was like, did something happen to him? But I just didn't remember this. So now I'm disappointed in myself. Now I'm not okay. It is interesting just him stepping away and all the stuff that can go into that.
435-339-0321 if you want to chime in. But we're taking nominations if you want to recognize somebody who stood out in their field of play over this past week. Give our player of the week, also the stat that blew our minds. And in fact, let's get into that right now, shall we, Jason? Let's start with the stat to give our audience time to nominate somebody for the player of the week if they have one. But let's start with the stat that blew your mind.
Let's take a look at the numbers. It's the stat that blew our minds.
He did what?
On the Full Court Press.
Wow, that blew my mind.
All right, stat that blew your mind. Jason, you've got one?
Well, there were multiple, but this is actually one that I remember looking this kind of stat up and in thinking about this. It's a trend. Now, my favorite trend ever in sports is the fact that I'm pretty sure we're still on the trend of still having no repeat winners in the NFC East for division championship. I think we're now on, 21 years? Ever since 2002-2003 season.
It's wild.
But this is another trend that I've caught on to, and I'm certainly not the only one to catch on to it, because ESPN stats, they reminded me of this trend. But this Super Bowl, it'll be the 7th that has a starting quarterback who led the regular season in passing yards. I believe Patrick Mahomes was the one that led the regular season in passing yards for a quarterback.
Yes.
The last 6 quarterbacks that led the league in passing yards that year and made the Super Bowl, they all lost.
Ooh.
2017 Tom Brady, 2013 Peyton Manning, 2007 Tom Brady, 2002 Rich Gannon of all people, 2001 Kurt Warner, 1984 Dan Marino. And those are some crazy seasons, first 5,000-yard passing season Dan Marino, greatest show on turf Kurt Warner, undefeated Tom Brady, Peyton Manning shattering the heck out of the passing record book and losing. And then also 2017 Tom Brady. So there's two that aren't the same, Rich Gannon and 2017 Tom Brady. They weren't these super, crazy record-breaking guys, but still. You lead the league. And the thing is, I looked at the other positions too. So, all right, what if you have the leading rusher or the leading wide receiver? And there are at least leading wide receivers and leading rushers that have won Super Bowls, usually more often than not a leading rusher, but that's more 60s, 70s, and 80s type stuff, right. Winning the championship. That doesn't really happen anymore because usually the team with the leading rusher doesn't even get close to the Super Bowl.
No.
Means you didn't have a good enough quarterback.
Yeah, that's true.
Usually what that means. So it is interesting, you lead the league in passing, you usually don't win the Super Bowl.
Well, it's interesting because that somewhat correlates with the stat that blew my mind as we're maybe getting a clearer picture of who might win the Super Bowl in nearly 2 weeks from now. But before Sunday, 4 teams won divisional playoffs and conference championships by at least 21 points. So this, before Sunday, this had happened 4 other times. Each of those teams that did that won their divisional playoff game and the conference championship game by 21 points or more, went on to win the Super Bowl. Well, guess what? Philadelphia just won their divisional playoff game and their conference championship by 21 points or more to become the 5th team in NFL history to do that. So does that mean they're going to go and win the Super Bowl as well? Between your stat and mine, I'd put my money down on Philadelphia right now.
Yeah, maybe you should. I'll tell you the other stat that blew my mind. You go good old 2 for 1. So we have Pro Bowl selections. That'll take place this weekend, along with the NHL All-Star Game. Apparently we'll have a double your money All-Star weekend for those NFL, NHL fan crossovers.
Yes.
The Pro Bowl is becoming almost more and more of a joke in terms of just the fact that since the Super Bowl happens after you end up missing out on probably 4 or 5 players each team that would have made the Pro Bowl. Then you have injuries and guys don't want to play in it. Like Josh Allen's not going to play in it because of an injury. So that's led to a quarterback for the Ravens being able to play in the Pro Bowl. And it's not the one you just thought of, Lamar Jackson. It's Lamar Jackson's understudy, Tyler Huntley.
Former Ute.
We'll go to former Ute going to the Pro Bowl. A Pro Bowler who threw 2 touchdown passes and 3 interceptions this season.
What?
Started 4 games, went 2-2.
Oh, my word.
Not bad backup quarterback. I mean, the dude, he threw for, a little over, and he's a bit more of a running quarterback, and that's where he can provide some pretty good value as a backup for the Ravens. But yeah, and so because ESPN posted this article, and they had the chart of, I have to find this chart, where quarterbacks who've made the Pro Bowl and not thrown very many passes. So the fewest touchdown passes by a quarterback in the Pro Bowl before now was Mike Borlia, 1975. Some of you may know him. 6 touchdowns, and then Ken O'Brien and Vince Young both had 10 touchdowns in a year when they made the Pro Bowl. But 2 touchdowns gets you to the Pro Bowl. Like Mac Jones making the Pro Bowl.
Why are we
last
still doing this?
It's just.
Well, how is he the guy that's selected?
Because everyone else is injured.
Everybody else is backed out.
Like literally everyone else is injured. That has to be it.
Just do a ceremony after the season where you name your all-pro team and everybody gets a trophy and
at this
have
point,
a dinner, go have it in a big theater.
At this point, just make all of these All-Star games just pure fan votes. Just acknowledge that it's a fan vote. Don't even play it. Just call them the All-Stars. Call them the Pro Bowl. But just don't do anything other than a fun skills challenge in a weekend in Hawaii. For the Pro Bowl should go back to Hawaii for one. Because just give them a fun time. Go play a flag football game. Have a bench pressing contest. Have quarterbacks see if they can hit a peanut from 30 yards away. I don't know. Just something where they can just, mess around. I think there was one where they did like a longest throw contest, like who can throw the ball the longest. Because they used to do that a little bit. All right, get him back in there. See, all right, who can throw a ball the farthest? Just friendly competition stuff, and hopefully they don't rip out their elbow doing it. Yeah. That's about the only danger at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I talked about this a little while ago, that the NHL is going to have some pretty fun and interesting additional skills competitions as part of their All-Star Weekend. And I'd like to see other leagues do something similar. But the NFL, it is the worst display and quote-unquote celebration of its stars.
Yeah.
And just go do away with the whole Pro Bowl thing. It's pointless.
Some of the issue with football is that their sport is probably the least geared toward being able to do that. The best is the NBA. 3-point shootout, dunk contest. Skills challenge is a bit iffy, but you can have some fun with it. Like the NBA should, and I think their All-Stars are kind of the most famous because of the things like the dunk contest and 3-point shootout. Except that the dunk contest is being ruined because nobody wants to. Like, why would you not want to be in the dunk contest?
Yeah, it's true. It has lacked star power for a little while.
Like, and I get it. Sometimes the best dunkers aren't actually the best players. Because, like, Jeremy Evans really actually was one of the best dunkers in the NBA. And if you want proof of just how stupidly athletic he was, go rewatch that preseason play with the Clippers where he blocked a shot, took like 3 steps from his own court, and then like just about jumped over a dude. Dude had some bounce. But like, you know, and so having those kind of end-of-bench guys who were stupidly good dunkers because they're so insanely gifted that they had to at least make an appearance in the NBA, I can kind of live with that. But even those guys aren't showing up in the dunk contest anymore. And it's just guys who are trying to boost their style. You know, Donovan Mitchell being in the dunk contest. Is Donovan Mitchell one of the best dunkers in the NBA? Not in terms of dunk contest format. He's good at dunking, obviously. But, you know, of course, it doesn't help that Aaron Gordon keeps getting robbed because he actually is one of the best dunkers.
He is.
And he's been robbed twice.
Phenomenal dunker.
And so maybe that's part of why they realize these guys are getting robbed. You know, because, you know, Zach LaVine's one of the greater dunkers. And Aaron Gordon, again, there's some other guys, but it's just like, you know. But again, maybe try some star power. Like,
Get John Morant in there.
Yeah, John Morant.
Zion Williamson.
And like one of the last great dunk contests we had was like, you know, Blake Griffin was in it because he actually had some star power. He was a rising rookie that was, you know, known for posterizing people. And he had an iconic dunk. But we just don't have that as much anymore.
Let's do this. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back on the other side, we'll reveal our player of the week, somebody who stood out in their individual performance. Could be local, could be close to home, could be on the national scene.
You know, I stay local when I do these.
We'd love to get your nominations as well. If you saw somebody stand out with what they did, love to have you nominate them for our player of the week consideration. 435-339-0321.
Daryl's Appliance is the only place in Cache Valley where you can apply your service trip fee to a new appliance if you decide you want a new one instead. This is Jay from Daryl's Appliance. You don't have to gamble. That's because you have everything under one roof, service and sales. You always get the best appliance repair team in northern Utah. But if you decide to buy new instead, apply the repair fee to your new appliance. See store for details. Only at Daryl's Appliance, west on Airport Road.
It's cold outside, but you can keep warm inside with a quality-built, super-efficient York furnace. Count on a furnace from York because it's backed by the strongest warranties available. It's just another way we install confidence. Call Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning, your local York dealer, at 752-7272. Online at advancedheating-ac.com. York, install confidence.
We're not comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat is locally owned and operated inside the beautiful new Three Peaks Medical Plaza in North Logan. Expect the most cutting-edge techniques, qualified doctors, and friendly staff to ensure the highest quality patient care. The ENT providers have extensive training to properly treat ear, nose, and throat conditions for adults and children. Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat serves all of northern Utah and southern Idaho, accepting most insurance products including SelectMed. Go to CacheValleyENT.com for appointments and details. Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat, located in North Logan and Providence.
This is The Herd.
Attention listeners.
With Colin Cowherd.
So the Sean McVay story is very interesting. I want to step back and have a life. I think McVay feels, at times, a little underappreciated. He saved the quarterback. He saved the franchise. It was a boring, unwatchable mess. And I think he wants a little more power, a little more say in personnel.
This is The Herd.
Weekdays from 10 to 1 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
100 plus businesses, thousands of people, free parking, Main Street access. It's the Cache Valley Media Group Home and Garden Show presented by Anderson Seed and Garden at the Eccles Ice Center, March 24th and 25th. If you are a home and garden business, from crafts to home building or excavation to emergency preparedness, this show is for you. Google Cache Valley Home and Garden Show for details.
That's Cache Valley Home and Garden Show.
Or call 752-1390 for more details.
It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. 435-339-0321 if you want to chime in. If you want to nominate somebody for Player of the Week, or if there was a stat that stood out to you that blew your mind. A couple texts coming through before we get into our Player of the Week. 2947. Eagles are good, and I'm happy they're doing well. They could definitely win the Super Bowl with the Chiefs hurting so much. But let's be honest, enough to admit the Eagles have had a very fortunate path to the Super Bowl, much easier than other teams. That is true, and give them credit for what they did defensively. I mean, it's easy to look that good when you knock the opposing quarterback out of the game, and then who's already a third-string guy. But yes, they have had the easiest path. I will agree with you there. But still, it's the playoffs, and you still have to perform well. And they didn't just perform well; they dominated. So they won their games, which they would have been favored to win anyway. But it's not just that they won their games; it's just how they won their games and how much they dominated on their path to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the Eagles are a good team, and I would pick them in the Super Bowl. Granted, I don't want either the Chiefs or the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. I wanted a Bengals 49ers Super Bowl. That's what I wanted. I picked the Chiefs Eagles Super Bowl, and guess who's right? Because I guess I had to be, because that's what I didn't want. But yeah, the Eagles are a really good team, and if they can keep Mahomes under wraps, which he's apparently been banged up quite a bit, then
but Jalen Hurts has been banged up too. I mean, he missed a couple of games late in the season. And then he was able to come back in time for the playoffs, but he's not healthy. Not like he's feeling rosy and 100%. I mean, so this is going to be a Super Bowl featuring a couple of quarterbacks that are banged up a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. So it probably will come down to whoever makes the biggest defense, or whose defense has the better game. Because it's just going to come down to one team will probably bottle up the other quarterback. Or I guess there's also the solution that nobody bottles at the quarterback and we go for 50 points each.
Yeah, that's true.
Highest scoring Super Bowl ever.
3486. Put Jordan Love in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, get him out there, longest throw competition. See if he can actually, crank it up and haul one deep.
There you go. I mean, if we're going to put Tyler Huntley in, why not put Jordan Love in there?
I think he has about as many touchdown passes.
It's probably similar. 3862. Patrick Beverly for showing the refs their missed call on one of the photographer's cameras. That dude has some huevos. Oh, that was funny. That's some classic Patrick Beverly right there.
Yeah, Patrick Beverly is just a character, and there are people who are happy that he was on the Jazz, and I'm like, get this man off my team. I don't want him here. Dirty player, just didn't want him on the team. Probably could. He's one of those players you can kind of grow to love if he's on your team, but it's just I didn't like his antics. Like if Chris Paul came to this team, it's like I don't think I could stand it. Even if I recognize him being good, it's like I can't stand watching him.
So let's. We've had a couple nominations to consider. Patrick Beverly is one of those. But what about for who we thought stood out in their individual play over this past week?
Time to see who the real MVP is.
If you have a good game, your game is going to say that. You don't have to say it.
Puts a lot of cool things in perspective anytime you're the first time doing something.
It's the Full Court Press Player of the Week.
Let's go! All right, Jason, who stood out to you this past week?
So as per tradition, and I think at this point by contractual obligation, I have to stay local for my Full Court Press Player of the Week. And I'm going with one Dan Akin.
Ooh, good choice.
Had a good week this week. He obviously had his just about career night. Made his three-pointer, his first three-pointer of his career, his second attempt in 147 games now. So he's 1 for 2 in his career. Nice 50%, good percentage. And as Coach Odom said after the game, he's not allowed to shoot a three again because he made the one.
End it there.
So, yeah, and ended on a good note. Kind of like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He made the 1-3 on, 18 tries. I'd like to know, what 18 instances in all of the minutes Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played that resulted in him attempting a three-pointer.
It'd be weird.
But so obviously that wasn't the only game. He had the 15 points, 10 rebounds against San Diego State. So for the week, he averaged 19 points, 9 rebounds, half an assist, a steal, 2 blocks, and shot 82% from the field. He was, 13 of 16 from the field, if I'm doing that math right. And then free throws was pretty good there, where he was I think 9 of 13 or something like that, 75%. I don't know if that math checks out, but
take your word for it.
I'm trying to add these numbers together on the fly. I didn't add them up beforehand, the 2 games. But, yeah, very good week from Dan Akin.
Big impact for Utah State off the bench. Huge contributions for him, and they're going to need that, especially tomorrow with the team that has some very active big players, and he's going to have to play a really significant role for the Aggies against a very good New Mexico team tomorrow night. For me, I'm also in college basketball, but I'm going to the women's game. This last week, Taylor Robertson, she plays for Oklahoma, the Sooners. She broke the Division I women's basketball career record for three-pointers made in a game against Iowa State, 498. So she hit that record. Then she went on to make 5 more three-pointers in that game after passing that record. She has made at least 1 three-pointer in 62 consecutive games.
Jeez.
That's insane. She's a fifth-year senior, and she's taking full advantage of it. Incidentally, Oklahoma lost that game against Iowa State.
Should have made more threes.
But she did set the NCAA record in women's basketball. That's a pretty incredible number for a collegiate career. But my hat goes to Taylor Robertson from Oklahoma.
Are there any players who, with this COVID year and all that, are there any that are come close to any major records?
Well, she gets an extra year because of COVID.
Yeah, so she's
one of those who a record falls because she got more time.
Yeah, because that's one thing with these, this COVID year. It's there are some records that could fall, some career records. I don't know if Pistol Pete's record of points will ever be caught because it's just stupidly insane. I mean, you had Kelsey Plum came within spitting distance of it, but she needed 4 years and averaging 20 points over 4 years, and she also got 3-pointers. Pistol Pete didn't have 3-pointers.
Yeah, it wasn't a line, didn't exist.
So that one, that's among the more insane records in sports. Not the most insane. There are some more insane records, believe it or not. But yeah, there's some records. I don't know if there's football or you might have. I don't know how easy it would be to track these down, but there are some players who are going to get some decent career numbers.
Sure, yeah. When you look at football, basketball, a couple of these sports where these players get that extra year, who are already really good, talented players, and now you give them 1 more year to add on to their already significant tally. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of records that will be set over this next year or two, or these past, I guess, year and a half, maybe even 2 years, and wonder if there'll be ever, players able to beat those or come close to those.
Yeah, the one that I think that could get broken most often would just be school records for games played. But even then, that probably might not happen as much because so many players are transferring. I looked at one player's stat sheet the other day. He's played 4 years in college. He's played for 4 schools.
I don't know how that should even be possible.
It's just these kids just if you go to one school, okay, maybe it didn't work out. You go to a second school, maybe, I don't know. Third school, fourth school is okay, it's you.
Yeah.
You're the common denominator.
You're the journeyman.
You shouldn't have to go to 4 schools. It really should be 2 at most, maybe a transfer to a third school for a grad transfer year. That's pretty much all it should be.
Let's do this. We're going to take another time out here in the Full Court Press. So when we come back, we'll run through what's going on tonight in the Mountain West. A busy schedule of games throughout the Mountain West Conference. We'll tell you who's playing where, what's on the line, how this could affect the standings next on the Full Court Press.
Experts tell us that the 3 areas of balance for proper health are exercise, nutrition, and sleep. This is Ryan, owner of My Mattress, and while My Mattress Store can't really help with exercise and nutrition, we can help with better sleep. If a person started today to live a balanced life in health, exercise, and sleep, 3 things might happen. 1, we might throw away the bag of peanut M&Ms that we have stashed. 2, we might get up off the couch and exercise. And 3, we'd come buy a new mattress here at My Mattress.
Are you ready for Valentine's kisses and wishes? It's time to make your Valentine's Day reservation for the Sweethearts Buffet at the Riverwoods Conference Center on Friday, February 10th. Experience a romantic ambiance with piano music and a kissing booth backdrop for selfies. A delicious selection of entrees that include herb-roasted New York loin and pesto roasted turkey. And it wouldn't be Valentine's without a decadent dessert bar filled with all your favorite dreamy sweets. Now as for the kisses, better make your reservation today. Riverwoods Conference Center. Call 750-5151.
Hi, this is Tyler. Recently, my father passed away, and White Pine provided the funeral services for our family. They were friendly, thoughtful, and attentive to every detail. You know, it isn't often that a loved one passes away, so it was very important to my family that everything be handled just right. Because my dad was loved by so many people, we had a lot of family and friends that traveled from out of town. I really appreciate how White Pine Funeral Services made sure everyone was comfortable and that the focus was where it needed to be, on my dad and my family. They really took care of us during this tender time.
It's never too late or too cold to get rid of that old vehicle. Now is the time to earn extra cash by calling DD Auto and Salvage. Let them pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy and fast to get rid of your junker vehicles by paying you the most money possible. Pickup is available. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204.
That's 787-1204 today.
See store for details.
Do you own an RV or motorhome? If so, you know how hard it is to get it serviced locally. Not anymore. Bull Moose RV is in their new massive location at 1850 North, 600 West in North Logan. That means they have tons of space indoors to work on your RV or motorhome. Plus, they have more room for RV inventory for you do-it-yourselfers. Bull Moose RV, recently expanded to serve you better. Bull Moose RV at 1850 North, 600 West in North Logan. Online at bullmooseRV.com.
The Aggies, Jazz, high schools, even the Pee Wee's T-ball team. It's the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, The Fan.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. Before we get to the rundown of what's going on throughout the Mountain West Conference tonight, got a text here from 3862. Just found out yesterday that David Jenkins Jr. plays for Purdue. He started at South Dakota State, went to UNLV, then to Utah, and now he's at Purdue. Transfer rules are crazy. Maybe there will be a cap someday.
Yeah, I've given my solution. I think I explained it on one of the shows where I say you can transfer either your freshman, after your freshman, or redshirt freshman season. Basically, anytime before you become a sophomore, you can transfer for free that one time. And you can transfer if, like, your head coach leaves. I'd have to, I
think there's a few additional things. Like there's a coaching change. You shouldn't be bound to stay there when you're not with the people who recruited you.
Yeah, basically the thing with my system is you commit to a school and you stay there, again, with the one exception, like if you go there and if you feel like what you were sold isn't what you bought into, or isn't what you actually bought into, then you can leave because just material change of circumstance, you didn't know you're doing, your 18-year-old kid being lied to by coaches. Or not even necessarily if they were lying, it's just things just didn't work out because that happens sometimes. Just let them go early on, not a big deal. And then if the coach leaves and suddenly, that's the guy you committed to, okay, you shouldn't be held to that because that's not what you didn't commit to go 2 years and then change coaches. That's not what you committed to the school for, so you can have a free transfer. And then you can do a grad transfer. If you have that extra year, then it's like, well, you fulfilled your commitment to the university.
Right.
You committed to go there, go to school, graduate. You did. Now go play somewhere, have fun. You earned it.
Right. You fulfilled the requirements and the academic requirement.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is you're fulfilling your academic requirement, and there's some obviously athletic commitment required too. But it's like that's where my idea is kind of built around is you were committing somewhere, fulfill your commitment. There are some exceptions, but do that.
Quickly, what's going on in the Mountain West Conference tonight at 7 o'clock? UNLV is at Colorado State. Boise State's at Air Force. At 8 on FS1, it's Fresno State at Wyoming. Wyoming favored by 5. In this one, even though they've only won one conference game and Fresno's won 3. Not a good reflection on the Bulldogs. And then at 9 o'clock on CBS Sports Network, it's San Diego State at Nevada. Aztecs favored by 2.5 in that one. Again, on CBS Sports Network, a late one tonight. And they did set the line for tomorrow's game in Logan between the Aggies and the Lobos. Aggies by 4. So we'll discuss a lot more of that tomorrow, get into the matchups and the storylines in that one single matchup of the regular season between Utah State and New Mexico. We'll see how that goes. We'll also preview the Jazz as they'll be taking on the Toronto Raptors tomorrow. Plus, an interview that's been lined up with a local coach who's being inducted into a pretty significant group. He's joining a pretty rarefied air. So we'll get a chance to talk to him about that significant honor and how that came about and reflect on his years of coaching here in the Valley. So that'll be a lot of fun tomorrow afternoon. You don't want to miss that, coming up around 4:30 tomorrow afternoon. Until then, we'll see you tomorrow here in the Full Court Press. You can always go back and listen to past episodes on 1069thefan.com or the 1069 The Fan mobile app. All of our past episodes and podcasts are there, as well as the Light the A podcast. Until then, have a great night, everybody.